Hello, Iris J here with Madrona's Pulse Teachings, Astrology for Healing, and I am here on the Salish Sea talking to you about the Pisces Full Moon, which is happening depending where we are on the 30th or 31st of August here on the west coast of Canada. It's happening in the evening on the 30th at 6:36 p.m. So go ahead and figure out what time it's going to be for you. You want to have a look right away if you do such things at Pisces in your chart. This moon is happening between 7 and 8 degrees of Pisces. So we've got the moon in Pisces opposite the sun in Virgo. That gives us a full moon. This is a super moon, meaning that that moon is going to be very, very bright, and therefore some of us might be feeling these Pisces realms of the psyche, of the body, of the cosmos very strongly. Full disclosure, biases out there, I love me a Pisces moon, I gotta be honest. But I love the deep end of the spectrum. So a Pisces moon takes us into the deep end of the spectrum. So I really would love to open this up with you. There's a lot going on. This is not just a Pisces moon. This is a Pisces conjunct Saturn full moon. Really, really bringing beautiful energies to us. There are dogs running back and forth. I tried not to bring them, but then they looked at me with that look like, you're going out on a walk without us. So they're here doing their thing. If this is your first time tuning into my channel, please do subscribe. Welcome. Please subscribe. I talk about astrology, spirituality, healing, and personal and collective ways on these wild journeys that we're all on. And let's open this up. So again, moon there in Pisces between 7 and 8 degrees, sun in Virgo. And that moon is conjunct Saturn. So this is the first element of this moon that I want to open up. There's a lot going on. The divine feminine asteroids are very chatty. There's a lot of support actually from the outer planets as well. So I want to try and open up these layers, but let's start with the core, which is our moon opposite the sun. And that moon is conjunct Saturn. So Saturn is in Pisces and Saturn is retrograde. So a Saturn retrograde in Pisces is very different than kind of the traditional, very stern reading we get of Saturn. A lot of people hear Saturn in astrology, and even if they are new to astrology, they're kind of cower a little bit because Saturn gets a really bad rep. I don't work with the bad rep of Saturn. I work with Saturn as essential energies that are really here actually to support us and strengthen us on our journey. But this is a Saturn retrograde in Pisces. So this is a Saturn that has a really specific role that it's playing in what's being illuminated. A full moon is a time when something is being illuminated. So we're having an illumination in that 7 to 8 degrees point of our chart, which is a point of our psyche and of our life. And Saturn energy, I'm going to share this image right here because as I was walking to find the place to have this chat with you, there was just this gorgeous moment where the tide was just, in that place between coming in and coming out. And this is what Saturn is. Saturn is the boundary between what is known and what is not known. And Saturn conjunct the full moon in Pisces retrograde is illuminating in our lives how our own boundary between what is known and what is not known is changing, is shifting in a somewhat radical way. I know a lot of folks are feeling this. The boundary between what we have known about ourselves and our place within the world, our place, our calling, our vocation, how we fit in, the reasons we don't fit in, it is changing. That is part of what Saturn is doing in Pisces. It is cleaning up the Pisces part of our life so that something can close, so that we have more space to embody our spirituality. Simply put, Saturn in Pisces, getting to the core, is about our spirituality, about our spiritual alignment, about being one with all that is. Pisces energy is that we go around the whole zodiac and then we get to the end, and this is the archetype of Pisces. It is the ocean. It is the oceanic way of being. It is the divine mystery. It is our oneness within that. There is no ego present in Pisces. There is no, look at me, I'm on stage and I'm such a role model and I name all my organizations after myself. It's none of that. It's none of this human idea of the self. It is the dissolving of that and the return to source. That is what Pisces energy is about. Now, we're also talking about the ocean, okay? So there's depth, there is darkness, there is addiction, there's all the things that take us out of our head and want us to dissolve. Even in Pisces doesn't really use words like good or bad. There's just the experience. And so this is all Pisces energy, but ultimately the archetype is about the divine expression of love that we are all one with. That is why it is also the realm of compassion and forgiveness. And Saturn is conjunct that Pisces moon, showing us how our boundary between what has been known and unknown in our place within all that is changing. This is big energy. So firstly, with this full moon, we want to create space to be with that energy. Pisces energy can require alone time. A Pisces full moon can require alone time. It can be shifting moods. It really wants the energies to be expressed. Sometimes we get really, really deep in with Pisces energy. With Saturn there, Saturn is actually really supporting us making sense a little bit of what's going on. Not sense in terms of, here's my 5-year plan and it's all in my check boxes. Virgo's not working like that. Mercury is retrograde in Virgo, and this illumination is on the Pisces aspects. But Saturn is absolutely there, creating a bit of ground so that we don't get too far into the depths. I always say this, I know, but it is an excellent time to journal. But it's an excellent time to journal about what we're feeling. And really letting go of why we feel it, just expressing. This is energy that just really wants to be expressed. It is also, Pisces is dreams. It's a time to pay attention to the dreams coming up to and after and on the full moon. It is also grief. And with Saturn there, we absolutely could feel a bit of grief because Saturn is closing things out in our life. And so if you're very aware that there's a chapter of your life or something is closing so that you can enter into a brand new cycle, because ultimately, Saturn is closing things out so that Saturn can take us on a whole new journey around the zodiac, and we can have a new sense of authority and a new sense of grounding and a new sense of our journey trailblazing through this world. But first there's a cycle closing, and it's like this beautiful liminality where something is closing so that birthing can happen. It is the tide coming in and going out in like the space between exhale and inhale. It is that liminality. And so absolutely there could be some grief that comes up. And if that is, we really just want to nurture ourselves. We want to express it. We want to carve out the time to be with our whole self during this full moon, just because there's so much that's coming up. Now, there's also a lot of aspects going on. There's a lot of conversations. There's a lot of, with this full moon, I really would use my go-to of the cosmic symphony that's kind of holding us during this full moon energy. And one of the things I want to point to is Neptune. Okay, so I'm an evolutionary astrologer. I work mostly with the modern rulerships, but also always looking into the traditional. But let's start with Neptune. Neptune is the ruler of Pisces. And Neptune is really interesting because Neptune is there in Pisces, and Neptune is in a really interesting conversation. So here's the chart. We've got Neptune talking to Uranus and talking to Pluto. So we've got the 3 outer planets all in really supportive conversations, and they're forming what we call a kite, where it all channels into Our Lady Pallas Athena. our goddess of creative wisdom. So all of this to say that it's kind of like we are having this incredible Piscean experience in these realms that are beyond the day-to-day. And there's something bigger going on. Something bigger that's holding us. These are the outer planets. These are the transpersonal planets. This is Uranus, radical change maker. This is Neptune, beyond all that is, that governs dreams and the unconscious. And this is Pluto, who is also talking with the nodes and is our soul desire, our soul journey, bringing us into new alignment. And we're able to access that energy also through Pallas Athena, who is creative wisdom. She's there in Virgo, just like our sun, just like our Mercury retrograde. As I'm talking, I'm hearing a woodpecker right above me, which is also just nice, diligent Virgo energy doing its thing. And Pallas Athena is, she's the goddess of war, but war from creative wisdom. She's the ultimate strategizer. When Pallas Athena is in Virgo, she can do really Pallas can always do anything she wants, but she is just meticulous. And there's this creative wisdom that also wants to birth through in Virgo. And whereas sometimes Virgo can really take us into clear understanding, at the energy of this full moon with so much Pisces energy with Mercury in retrograde, we really just want to come into the body. Virgo is the mind-body connection. We really want to come into our senses. We really want to come into slowing down, whatever practices we have that slow us down. And we may get some really big insights about our place in this divine mystery, the way that we're co-creating with the universe, the way that our life makes sense to us, especially in ways that it maybe hasn't made sense because we've been trying to measure ourselves against standard norms of success or standard ideas of, society that a lot of us, especially spiritual seekers, just don't fit into because we ain't supposed to. Because those paradigms are not supporting us. They're not supporting this earth. They're not supporting collective consciousness. They're not supporting compassion. They are supporting an egoic sense of self, building as much power as possible so that it can clutch to greed and feel a sense of self that comes out of power over others. That is what colonial capitalistic patriarchy does. And that is what a lot of celebrities, a lot of folks who are our role models use language, but they're really putting forth this very egoic sense of self. Pisces is about us coming into interconnected being. Pisces full moon is illuminating a beautiful felt sense of compassion that heals us. So this is also a time that we can come in to quite a lot of healing. And Pallas Athena might be speaking to that. And again, just coming into trusting what the body wants and what the body needs, and really, really allowing that Saturn energy to shift that boundary line between what is known and unknown and what is just intuited, because this is absolutely a moon that wants to open up our intuition. Jupiter is also important, right? So Jupiter is our traditional ruler of Pisces energy, and Jupiter is chatting with Venus. So Jupiter is in a square with Venus. This is really lovely because Jupiter is going to enter its retrograde. Venus is still retrograde during this full moon, but she's come out of what we call the underworld part of her journey. So she's in deep process. So wherever Venus has been going through in the Leo part of our sense of self, our creative passion, time the dogs coming through with creative passion, she is in process. She is reintegrating. We do not need to know what we're doing with our creative self. We just need to feel in and love ourselves. That is really all Venus needs. And she is talking to Jupiter, who is there in Taurus, again, Earth, like deeply rooted Earth energy. Taurus is wanting to expand our Earth consciousness, is wanting to expand how our body Earth consciousness is something that is a source of abundance in this life. Let our imagination and the idea of abundance go way beyond money. Let it go into actual vitality streaming through us, and the idea that there's just pure creative energy because we are in this earth experience right now. Jupiter is helping us understand that in its journey through Taurus, and that expansive self is channeling into this creative, passionate self-love that we've been on some of us quite an intense journey with Venus with. So that energy is here, and it's also speaking again to themes of compassion that are coming up with this Piscean moon. I just want to mention sweet Vesta because there's so much divine feminine energy, and Vesta, who is in Gemini, she's in an exact square with Neptune. Okay, she's also trining the South Node, and she's sextiling the North Node, so she's in a really supportive relationship with those nodes of destiny. But Vesta is our sacred hearth. She is the energy within that is our sacred sexuality that connects us like so implicitly to the divine feminine, and she is squaring Neptune. So again, we do not want to get too focused on trying to intellectually understand, because Neptune is the bigger energy, and Neptune is in Pisces. We just want to feel, but we want to also feel this moon maybe stirring up our Kundalini energy, our sacred hearth energy within, the sacred fires that can never be extinguished. No matter what, we've survived. They can get pretty quiet, but they're always there. And holy moly, let's just let this full moon use Vesta and that air energy to kind of stoke them a bit and let them come up. And really, folks, we don't need to understand. Mercury is retrograde in Virgo. If we're trying to understand too much, we're probably going to spur anxiety. This is really about just grounding into those practices that help you flow in and out like the ocean. And even if the waves are getting a little big, what do you have in your life to support you just rolling with it? Okay, not controlling. This full moon is absolutely also about letting go of control. A Virgo shadow is that it can attach itself to idealism, perfectionism, and what that is a sense to control, and a sense of control comes out of fear. And so Virgo has to learn how to let go by leaning into Pisces, and that's what this full moon is illuminating. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully there's some little bits and kernels that you can just work with, and thank you so much. Love to all of you, and I'll see you on the flip side.